Alright, so now let's take a look at what it takes to set up a line for a line code. So in Business Center, again, what we're going to do here is we're just going to come over and we're going to create a line feature definition. So let's call this edge of pavement. So we'll call it edge of pavement. The code is going to be EP. The category will be, we'll call it road work. Again, the category is only in Business Center, doesn't exist in Civil 3D. For the layer, we want that to go to, let's call it v-road-pave. Alright, so we're just setting it up, and we want that to be green. And we're going to leave it solid. Okay, and we can set a line weight if we wanted to, but we'll just click OK. Colors by layer, line styles by layer, line scale 1, and field line style is solid. Alright, and we want to include this in the surface, so we're going to click OK. Alright, so now we got a line code. Now we can come down here, we can place symbols on it if we so choose, we can add additional attributes to that code if we wanted to. Okay. Inside of Civil 3D, we have to do a couple things. One, we have to create a description key. So what we'll do is we'll just rename this one called new and put an asterisk. We want to define a style, so if we want to see this point in the drawing, we have to come in and set a style. If we don't want to see it, we still have to set a style, and maybe set that to a basic or a default X. Alright, so you can, couple ways you can do it. You can either tell it not to display a style, but what happens, this is kind of where it gets a little tricky, is every single point that comes into Civil 3D goes into what's called a point group. And if it's in that point group, there's always an all points point group. So whatever the all points point group is, settings are displayed. So if I create a new point group, you can see that there's a point style and a label style associated with the point group. So even if I don't assign a style to it here, if I don't assign the style to it in the description key set, the point group that it goes to gets assigned a style that way. So, and like I said, when you import the data, there's always an all points point group. Alright, so there's a whole other way of dealing with points. For right now, we're just going to call it basic. For the label style, same thing, we're going to set that to none. Format, we'll call it edge of pavement, that's our name. Okay. And we want to come in and put it on the layer. So we'll come in here, click in the checkbox, click on this, and now we have to come down here and find that layer, which we've got road center, road curb. So we don't have road pave, so we're going to go ahead and call it v-road-pave. And we're going to give it a color. We'll call it green. And we'll do continuous, that's fine, and we'll leave everything else the way it is. So we don't change anything else. So we'll click OK and click OK. So now we've got road pave. We don't have to worry about the parameters for that. Now that's just the point. That doesn't define the line type or anything like that. So what we have to do for the line type is we have to go actually to the survey tab. And in the survey tab, we have to define what's known as a figure prefix database. So any line work or line information, what I have to do is create a figure prefix database. So I'm going to call this, we'll just call it demo, and we'll click OK. Now, once I've created it, I have to go in and manage that figure prefix database, and I have to come in and I have to create a new layer or line style. So I go EP. I'm matching the EP to my code. Alright, so this here is controlling the point. This here is controlling the actual line. Because it is the edge of pavement, I want it to be a break line. And then I want to come over here and set it to a layer. So I'm going to come in, select this, pull this down, and go to that road paved layer. Now that I've got the road paved layer, to get the line style to look the way I want, I have to actually make a style. Now here, we'll call it edge of pave, Okay, and that's just giving it a name. We'll click OK. That style hasn't really been created yet. To create the style, we have to go back to settings. We have to go down to survey. We have to go to figure styles here, and we have to define a style. So you can see we got road center lines that already exist. I'm going to create a new one, and we're going to call this, we want to make sure it matches. If we don't match it the same, it won't work. It'll create a blank one basically. So in plan view, we tell it whether we want to display or how the markers and midpoints, if there's got, those are being displayed. How the line is actually drawn, whether it's a 3D line or a 2D line, what it looks like in profile, what it looks like in section view, and then really here's the display, and display being, is it visible? Yes. Are the markers visible? We can turn those on or off, and then what layer that's going to go on. So now here we have to come back in and define or set that layer so that it goes to the same road layer. So we'll come in here and put road pave, and we're clicking OK. Now color, we want that to be by layer, and the same thing with the line type, we want that to be by layer. So the layer is going to control that information. Okay, we click OK. So we've got to set up a point, we've got to set up a figure style, as well as setting up and managing the figure prefix database. So we have to set that up there, and everything has to jive and match. Alright, so that's what needs to be done in Civil 3D to make sure that the lines get drawn on the appropriate layer, color, and style, and the way it looks. Again, going back to Business Center, you're just setting up the one. We don't have to set up a separate point code. We're just setting up a feature code, calling it edge of pavement, and that it's going to take care of the line work. Because remember, the points are separate from our symbology and our line work. They're tied together, but they're displayed being managed by this feature definition manager. Next, we'll take a look at a couple other features.